Karen, you're a relatively recent arrival in St Leonard's.
Indeedy.
And you describe yourself as a vocal advocate of positive links between conscious clothing choices and positive mental well-being. And you founded the Wear You're Happy movement. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I can. First of all, thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. Wear You're Happy. It's basically about wearing what you like. I mean, it starts from tragedy, I suppose, because in 2015, quite a few things happened. I left my 28-year teaching career behind. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. My aunt passed away. My eldest daughter had an episode at uni and came back home unexpectedly. So lots of things happened. And I didn't expect to leave teaching. I didn't know what to do. And so I fell out of love with fashion, which I've always loved. I've always loved style and I love dressing, but I kind of dressed for other people's validation as well as my own. And so how I knew I was coming through my depression was that I started to take more interested in clothing, but I was choosing clothing that my Aunt Monica had left behind, and I was choosing clothing that I knew would consciously lift my mood and make me feel better. And then when I realised that was something that worked, it got me out of the house. I couldn't understand why everybody didn't know this. And so I started to talk about it on the then social media platform of choice, which was Twitter, which is now Hellscape, but anyway. And hashtagged it Wear You're Happy, because it is literally, Wear You're Happy is about choosing clothing that you love, and not necessarily thinking about what people will say about why you're wearing it. So for me, it started with clothing with memory, clothing that brought me closer to my aunt and helped me to navigate my grief. What's grief? Anyway, and then it moved on to, I love colour, I love pattern, I love texture. I'm a big fan of nice lingerie. I'm not going to show you, it's all right, guys. The stuff that you put close to your skin. My point is, we all have clothing in our wardrobe that we love, and for some reason we might not wear. And sometimes it's because someone's made a comment about us. Sometimes it's because we've, subliminally, taken in all the patriarchal fashion bollocks that we're given around not being able to wear certain things over 40, or not wearing, silver with gold, or whatever it is, And I also feel that as a woman getting older, and people trying to, kind of push us to one side and make us become invisible, I say absolute rollicks to that. I say we have more experience, more knowledge, we have much more to give. There is absolutely no way I'm going quietly, and I encourage everybody else to do that as well. So Wear You're Happy is a combination of wearing what you love because you love it, and I also think that if you choose to wear what you love, it empowers other people who see you to do exactly the same thing. So do it. Madame. You won't ask me any more questions, Dad.
No, there's no more to go. I mean, a part of it is that you really promote inclusivity. And can you think of some stories, I don't know how it's changed the way that you felt, you've talked about that, but other people, as you've encouraged them, stories that how it's helped other people?
I think I show up for myself first and foremost. Yeah. I show up as an older black woman who is just living her life, and I'm not living it for anybody else. Because I also feel, I have two daughters, they're 27 and 32, and a grandson. And I believe that when we live the way that we want to live, it encourages people coming up behind us to do exactly the same thing. When I was growing up, the only role model that looked like me and didn't look like me on stage was, on the TV was Shirley Bassey. Mm-hmm. Hey Big Spender, I won't sing. I think Moira Stewart a bit later. But I also grew up in the era of black and white minstrels. So yes, it's great to have role models, but if you can't find them, then be your own.
Yeah. I think one of the best things about getting older is that you're not so nervous about things, and you will choose to wear what you want. And I think all those things are really important to see those very visible older women. So let's move on to Coastal Currents. Coastal Currents supports and showcases uniqueness, but but also crucially those individuals who are driven, self-motivated, and grab the pop-up style opportunity that comes with these sorts of events. Sounds just like you. And you've mentioned showing up, and even more specifically showing up for yourself. Can you explain what you mean?
I haven't always had this confidence. I think it's been a mask. I think I used clothing as a way to put a front in front of me, but actually I was having a pretty shit time. My relationship was breaking down, wasn't very happy at work, and I started to go into perimenopause as well, which when I was going through it wasn't a thing. So I think showing up for myself is honouring that little girl, you know, and really just choosing things that I love and choosing to do things that I love. And as I said before, I've got 2 little girls. I don't want them... I left my relationship because I didn't want them to think that that toxic relationship was normal. I've sold my house to come here because I was drawn towards the sea. I'm not about to sit around and wait to die. For what? I got stuff to do. You know, so showing up for yourself is not doing the stuff that you love, and not doing stuff because you've always done it or because people expect it of you, and definitely not doing things you know, because that you don't want to do. And that's hard. And the reason I say I haven't always been this confident, my confidence is in here. I'm not making it up anymore, if that makes sense. So I feel like I think menopause and poor mental health, which were very much linked, gave me my voice and allowed me to step up and really do the stuff that I love doing and follow my purpose, all that stuff that you want to call it. Fantastic. Whatever it is.
And I can see, you know, Tina's recognised that about you, and how you fit in with Coastal Currents. And Coastal Currents, it's all about celebrating community and enabling opportunities for creatives. How much has your work been linked to creating and supporting communities?
I'm a fashion creative. My mother taught me to sew when I was 15. I thought it was because I had hay fever and I had to stay in. But with retrospect, and you know, as you get older, you understand we understand the women in our lives more, I think. I realised that my dad had just left, so she was just going through a divorce. And so it was actually a way to connect with her elder daughter. And I actually have fond memories of her sitting next to me, correcting me and moving my hands around the sewing machine and that kind of thing. So I've always sewn. And then when I left and then I had a little business making bags whilst I was teaching, which basically stopped me from strangling a child, if I'm honest. And then creativity is a great healer, guys. Yeah. And then so when I left teaching, I thought, well, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And I'm only going to do stuff I love. And I loved working with women. I love making clothes. I love textiles. And so I created a business where I made clothes for women. And we had a lot of conversations about body positivity and what our body does when we get older. And I'd ask them questions about, you know, what do you love about your body? What do you accentuate? And they couldn't tell me one thing, but they could list the stuff they didn't like. And so I think that sparked where I am now, if you like. But I'm also moving more towards creating art. I've done a couple of public art pieces, which I absolutely loved. And at the moment I'm pausing my bespoke business. One, because I'm buying a house and that's fucking hard work, but also because I'm a big believer in silence. I think we chase answers too much and we try to force things to happen. And my experience is that when I've become quiet and I've allowed the kind of thoughts to come in, the answers come. And so I don't know what I'm doing, but it'll always be creative in some way, shape or form. So at the moment, I'm just making a jumpsuit for myself. That's basically it.
Fantastic.
You know.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting you said that you were drawn to the coast. So how do you think your new surroundings will impact on your creativity?
My mental well-being is better. London jars me. I prefer to go back and come out again now. How can it not? I don't understand how the sea and the space can't influence the way in which you are and the way in which you create. And I think creativity isn't, just because I call myself a fashion creative, doesn't mean that a person who isn't creative. I believe that we're all creative. It's just that when we're little and when we go into the schools that funnel us, what happens is we kind of have it taken out of us unless we can draw something that's representative of, I don't know, what do we all do? That self-portrait, you know. So I feel like creativity and giving myself the chance to get bored and play and look out the window and stare at the sea and that kind of thing allows me to share that with other people. So I have no idea how it's going to manifest itself. I'm looking forward to the ride.
You're getting ready to hatch.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
So, International Women's Day. Is there anyone you feel needs a special mention?
I looked at that question and there are too many people. So I'm going to speak for the people who are unheard. I'm going to speak for the women who came before us. I'm going to speak for our ancestors, women whose history has been erased, consciously or unconsciously, the women who paved the way to bring us here, the ones that we don't hear about, you know. So that's who I dedicate my International Women's Day to today.
Lovely, thank you. And one last question, because I'm going to talk to Nikki next, who you know, and you've attended her Mums That Rave events.
Oh my God.
So how do events like that align with your values, and are partnerships with other entrepreneurial creatives important to you?
First of all, absolutely yes to this last question, but the other thing is I go where I want to go. So Mums That Rave, if something starts at 9 o'clock, I'm side-eyeing it because I'm tired, okay? So a rave that starts in the daytime with good music and good energy and good people, how am I not going? I don't understand. And I met some wonderful people there, including Jade. I've made some lifelong friends from, you know, places that just celebrate life, people letting off, if that makes sense, and being their true free selves. So that kind of energy, even if it's not a formal collaboration, all of these events like this that celebrate creatives are about exchanging energy, aren't they? And so you can't help but be inspired, even if you don't realise it, by people who are on the same kind of vibe as you. So I don't know whether that answers your question, but that's what you're getting.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much.